Chris Brown, Matty Glab with you, and we are joined by Good Morning Football's Kyle Brandt, as we are every Tuesday. Kyle, good to have you here. We first should applaud you for the yeoman's effort with the hype speech over the weekend, NFL on CBS. Well done there. I think you inspired them. Apparently, though, they didn't watch it until halftime. At least that's the word we're getting. Because, everything turned around after that. But, yeah, just coming up a wee bit short. And it's kind of a heart ripper for Bills fans, especially those that made the trip to get out of the weather up here and enjoy some sunny days in Florida there. But good job on your part.
Now, Brownie. Strange times. A strange emotional time for a lot of fan bases, but I would think for Buffalo too. And I'll listen. I know you guys have a very specific perspective and the real authentic perspective locally. I can only sit from where I am and say, man, these Bills fans are pissed off. Really mad about a lot of things. I think they're mad about how the season's going. I think they're mad about the officiating. Personally, a lot of them are mad at me. Everybody's just mad and looking for a pound of flesh somewhere and somebody to blame. So please be mad. You've lost 4 out of 6 games. And if you ask a lot of these fans, they didn't really lose this one. It was taken from them. So, we've had Brian, we've been doing this thing about 3 years now. It's been some good times. People are pissed. And listen, there's 4 games left. We can work on it.
Yeah, they're ticked, and it's not good. And, Maddie and I were both on the show yesterday, and the collective angst is palpable. You can see it, you can feel it, you can cut it with a knife. I think the biggest issue, and then we'll stop talking about officials here, because I know you say that's the talk of losers. The last thing we will say about it is this argument. I think it's a decent theory, and I brought it up yesterday. Stephon Diggs, I think, is considered an A1 level receiver. And those are the kinds of players who more often than not get the benefit of the doubt and those kinds of calls. And there were 2 chances for officials to get it right and do right by him, and they did not. And I think that sticks in the craw of Bills fans, maybe more than anything else with regard to that conversation.
It's 2-pronged, isn't it? It's 1, you didn't give us the call. And 2, it's you insulted our guy by insinuating that he's not a big enough star to get the call. And would Devontae Adams have gotten that call? Would Tyreek have gotten it? Would Gronk or Kelsey have gotten it? Probably. The one that drove me crazy, these ones to Diggs were bad enough. I openly hated the one with the Mike Evans play on the far sideline, because Mike Evans did some crafty nonsense there that the refs completely fell for, in which he grabbed the defender, pulled him into him. It is just like being a 6-year-old and taking someone's fist and pushing it into your face and being like, he punched me. No, I didn't. You punched yourself with me. Like that. It was the full clothesline, drag it into me, and then interfere. And it was that terrible, thick, turgid pause before the flag came out. Like I'm thinking, and I'm going to throw it. It's unbelievably frustrating. So, you know how I feel, Brownie and Maddie, about this. I think you have your moment of shock and anger when the calls don't happen or they do happen. But then you got to turn that officiating page. It is unbecoming as a fan base, as a human species, to sit there and whine and moan about the officiating. It never helps anybody. Point to someone who spends an entire offseason saying, man, the officials just did us in. And I will show you a loser. That is the lament of the loser, to sit around, initially get mad, fine, but to dwell on it and just, man, if we just gotten a few calls. The Bills got housed in the first half. I believe that's the reason they ended up losing this game, because they didn't have enough at the end. So I could not feel more body language coming from you, Brownie, that you are so sick of talking about the officiating. I've now puked it all over the show again. I'm ready to move on. Maddie, if you are, maybe we should all take our own advice and move on.
All right, let's turn the page. I am doing it. No more complaining and whining about what happened in week 14, because after the season is over, are we going to look back and be like, oh, you remember in week 14 when the refs sucked against the Buccaneers and we didn't win the game?
Got it.
We're not going to say that. So based on what you saw of the Bills' last game against the Buccaneers, first half, second half, we saw a different team. Do you still have faith that the Bills can be contenders in the playoffs following the loss to the Bucs?
Absolutely, because they have one of the Avengers at quarterback, and this is a quarterback league. I remember we talked last week, and we were saying, should they just say screw it to this whole running game? Should they just kiss it off? It's a square peg in a round hole, and we've sat here for 13 weeks saying, do the Bills have the running game? Maybe they just say don't run. And then miraculously, for the first time in like 30 years, they went a whole first half without any running back runs. Allen looked incredible running it. I honestly think they found something. There is no tablet, no stone tablet that comes down from Mount NFL that says, you must have a running game. You must. I know it's ideal and it helps. They tried for 13 weeks. They can't run it. When they decided to stop running it outside of Allen, they went up and down the field against the world champs. So, yes, I still believe in them. They have a quarterback who can go for 300 and 100. He's a top 5 guy in the league. And they might have even found an identity in the second half. And listen, I don't know if it's enough to win the Super Bowl. I don't know if you can win 3 or 4 playoff games in January in outside atmospheres without much running. But I know you can beat the Carolina Panthers. And I know you can beat the Falcons. And I think you can beat the Patriots. Unless they play the Patriots again and it's seemingly 200-mile-an-hour winds, I still think they're a better team with a better quarterback. I think that's how it's going to go.
Yeah, and that's the thing. While you may not subscribe to Josh Allen doing everything as a long-term sustainable approach on offense, you got to do it now. You got to win games, and you only got 4 left here. So the margins for error, they're gone. You got to do anything you can to scrape, claw, and everything else to win a football game. He is your best player. The problem is he's now got a sprained foot and might be a little iffy through the week. I mean, Coach expressed optimism that he'd have a chance to play on Sunday, but that could throw a whole wrench in the works.
Well, I look at it this way. If you're going to go down, if that does happen, and I still think that they'll win. I think they're going to probably win 3 out of 4 to finish the season. I really do. If you're going to go down, do you want to go down with Josh Allen going crazy, or do you want to go down handed to Singletary and Matt Breida? Like, and due respect to those guys, those are good pros and talented guys. I think we saw something in that second half that you have a seminal player here with an incredible talent. I don't even care if he isn't a walking boot. I still think that's their best offense. I really do. How frustrating has it been to see them slog through this running thing?
Yeah.
Wasn't the second half intoxicating and refreshing? And the football gods are shaking their finger at it and saying, how dare you do this? You must establish the run. Screw you. Like, we're trying to win here. We're down 3 touchdowns. We have a great quarterback. Why would we run? We're not going to. I've come fully. I think, I don't care if it's sustainable for the next year or the next decade. How about the next 6 weeks? Can we just unleash the guy and just have him Hulk out? I think we can.
I think a lot of people walk away from the Bucs loss not feeling too bad because of how this team played in the second half and the type of team we saw in the second half. I mean, inject that into my veins with what the Buffalo offense and defense was able to do. And there's a lot of talk about taking this momentum into the rest of the season. Do you believe a team can take a sort of momentum or approach or mental mindset into several games after what they did in one game?
I hope so. And I think the short answer is yes, Maddie. I just saw a clip from Dawson Knox, who is my favorite player on the team and who looked amazing and who I thought was going to score on that catch and run at the end of the game. And I saw he was just singing about number 17. That's our general. That's our fearless leader. We believe in him. Listen, it could be that in that second half, despite the loss, they pushed the world champs and shocked them. Like, Brady was shook in that. And Milano's all over him. He's throwing bad incompletions, and he made a play at the end, and he's Brady, and he's great. They pushed the champs to overtime. Brady doesn't blow leads like that. He doesn't blow 21-point leads. They did it. And if you can take something from a loss about, man, we might have found something today, and that was maybe like the most badass loss we've seen by this team in the last 10 years, maybe they can. And maybe they open up a 40-point win on Carolina. I don't know. But it's Carolina, and then it's go to Foxborough. So there's no rest for this team. I do believe they found something in that second half, though, and I think that they were inspired as hell. I was watching them.
So you look at the 5-8 Carolina Panthers, losers of 8 of their last 10, currently on a 3-game losing streak. Their offense is in shambles. They're platooning quarterbacks. They're firing coordinators. And you're like, all right, this is, ripe for the taking. What do they have to play for? They're still in the playoff race in the NFC. And then Arizona loses last night to tighten things up over there. Kyle, have the NFL executives achieved the ultimate in NFL parity? Because I cannot remember a time going into week 15 that we only had, what, 4 teams eliminated from playoff contention in the entire league in week 15?
No. It's amazing. And that's, you know what I like most about it? There's going to be like an asinine team that makes the playoffs. I like an unconscionable team will be in the playoffs. And I'm looking at, like, we could have the Eagles in the playoffs. We could have the Saints. We could have the Raiders. We could have the Dolphins, who are the laughing stock of the league. It could happen. And it never mind could. It's going to happen. There is going to be a hilarious team in the playoffs. And not just hilarious, because we've seen, the 7-9 team that gets in. We've even seen them win. But just like a woebegone, awful Jay Leno monologue punchline type team from September and October will be in the playoffs this year. And it's just spin the wheel and pick which one. I like, for example, I still think like the Vikings have a thing to say in this, the NFC, because their ceiling is so high. I'm fascinated to see how the Eagles are going to be coming off a bye. Like, they run the ball well, and like they got this kind of kooky coach they believe in. The Eagles and the Vikings, like the Vikings lost to the Lions, and I still think they can make the playoffs.
And I want to take this point a step further. A couple weeks ago on Good Morning Football, you guys were talking about the MVP race and how at week 13 or week 12, whenever it was, you guys were like, this thing is still wide open. I cannot remember one point or 1 year where we were heading into week 13 and we couldn't crown a true MVP guy right now because of how wide open it is. Maybe because Kyler Murray went out for a couple weeks or because the up and down play of the quarterbacks. But this year has just kind of been all over the place.
It's really fun. And I think we got a little dollop of clarity last night. I mean, breaking news, Kyler Murray is not winning the MVP. It's a fun story. He's a really fun player to watch. He's crazy talented. In a couple of nationally televised games, he threw a game-ending interception against the Packers. Then he threw 2 against the Rams. He's young. He hasn't put his time in, quote unquote. I don't think they're going to vote for him. I think he lost it last night. Great player. I don't relish saying it, but I think he lost it, which means you have the Rodgers thing, which very deserving, very excellent. And when he was out for one game, the Packers completely fell apart. But I think there's going to be a huge voter prejudice against him for a myriad of reasons, all of which are off the field. And then you got, the golden boy in Tampa, who also has, I think, kind of the Michael Jordan factor working against him, where it's like, we're going to give it to this guy? Like, again, I think he might be deserving, but how many times do I have to vote for it? He might win it, because I've never bought the Jonathan Taylor thing. The running back's my favorite position in the league, but I just don't think it's short of a 2,000-yard season on a runaway playoff favorite, neither of which is going to happen for the Colts. TJ Watt seems to be hurt. I don't think that's happening. I'm very charmed and supportive of the Cooper Kupp thing. It's really cool. But again, I think for him to do it, it would have to be like, oh, the Rams are 15-2, and he broke Jerry Rice's record. Maybe he deserves it, just a matter of whether he'll be getting it. So I guess that's my long way of saying, good God, I think it might be Brady again. Yeah. I don't vote, but I only read the tea leaves. I think it might be him again. I'm sorry, but not sorry.
Yeah. You danced around it for a while, and I know why you did that, because you're on Buffalo Airwaves. I totally get it. Nice job, Kyle.
The wound is fresh. What am I supposed to do? Pour lemon juice on it, Brownie? Like,
put some lemon juice on it. Have fun storming the castle. I do think, though, in our very candid conversation here, we came up with a show idea for you guys. So you're going to have to talk to your producers about this. I seriously think you should spin the playoff wheel of fun. You should just get a giant wheel, spin it, and just have silly team makes the playoffs, and then each of you discuss the merits of why it's not impossible for team A, B, C, D, X to get in. Spin wheel spin. Bring Sajak in if you need to.
Brownie, you know how we were saying that the Bills fans should be offended that Stephon Diggs does not get the star calls? I'm offended that you think the Good Morning Football program does not have a bedrock of hard news, very serious coverage, and that we would result to hijinks like a spinning wheel. It's actually a great idea, and I'm going to email the producers right now. We should do it. I'll give you credit, Brownie, as producer.
Spin wheel spin. I mean, just let it go. I mean, heck, you got, who was it? Rachel Burnett in football pads to cue you for angry runs. I mean, a wheel with potential crazy playoff teams. I mean, that's like 2 degrees better than that, like in terms of crazy.
And you know who we got now? Do you guys see it? We got Brian Baumgartner's in at the table, like Kevin from The Office, the accountant. Is in today, he's in tomorrow, and not like as a guest. He's sitting there in the Burleson seat, like giving his thoughts on the Rams running game, and he's excellent. He's great.
Yeah, he's good. I just think it should have been a prerequisite that Chili you guys had to be lapping up Chili on set, at least for one segment. I mean, at least one point.
I know. And somebody made the terrible joke that Kevin's chili is what really gives you the angry runs. And I said, how dare you? How dare you defy my segment like that? It's disgusting and deplorable and literal potty humor. So there's lots of ideas bouncing around.
All right.
Oh my gosh. I've got to say, I do watch that chili scene. Anytime I'm feeling down, you just cue it up on YouTube. It definitely makes you laugh. But since we're talking about just how crazy this NFL season has been, do you have a crazy take to take us into the last 4 weeks of football that we're going to see?
Well, I guess, Maddie, the last 4 weeks, the crazy take would be, well, we kind of have to probably reference to that just wild AFC that we've been looking at. That, you know what, the two teams that are most fascinating to me, and I don't know how crazy to take this is, it's just two teams and they're twin brothers and it's the same team just with different colors, and it's the Chargers and the Bengals. Like, they're very, very amusing and entertaining to me because both of them just feel like they're a little like prepubescent. They're in their adolescence. Like, they're not quite adults yet. You can see that they're talented. And if you watch them work out in the gym, they got those huge feet and they're going to grow into them, and they're going to, like, the head varsity coach is like, keep an eye on those Bengals and those Chargers, but they're just not ready. They're so mistake prone. They're so erratic. They kind of got that like wild Labrador feel to them. So I guess the craziest take would be, one of those figures it out in the next month and like has some, like, I wonder if we're going to be sitting here when the AFC title game happens and someone blows our mind that they're playing in it. Never mind Buffalo or Kansas City or any of these other teams. Like, could we be sitting here and Cleveland is in the title game? I doubt it, but the AFC is so strange and it's such a bizarre mix of ups and downs that I think somebody, again, asinine to seemingly like the Chargers, could be in the title game this year. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say the Chargers and Bengals, even though you put the image in my head that you're just learning how to shave, they they have quarterbacks that can do it. I mean, between Joe Cool and Justin Herbert throwing rocket balls 60 yards in the air, they have that. The Browns don't. I'm sorry. I mean, Baker Mayfield's a tough as nails kind of player, but to me, he's just not it. They have everything else that they need. I don't know that they have the quarterback.
The AFC North is so hard. I was asked that question on the show yesterday. Who's going to win the AFC North? I don't know. I have no idea. What do you think? Here's where I go, though. If you can't pick a team, and I can't, you got to start eliminating teams. Try to do it that way. So I look at it this way. The Steelers' defense against the Vikings the other night was the worst I've seen it in my entire adult life, maybe my entire life. It was just, they didn't even show up. And TJ Watt's banged up. I can't pick Pittsburgh because of that. I'm looking at Baltimore. Lamar seems to be banged up. And even if he's not, if Lamar's at 95%, I think that's a problem because he just does everything for that team. I need him at 100. So put Baltimore out. Cincinnati just lost 2 straight home games in December. Like, playoff teams don't do that. They just don't. So Brownie, like, I'm sitting here, I'm trying to think of why Cleveland would be the team. They have Garrett and they have Clowney, and both of them looked ferocious last week. And it's like that game last week, it looked like they had 2 TJ Watts. And I know Baker's totally flawed. They run and they have a pass rush. And so just by default, which feels so lame and backhanded, I have to pick Cleveland.
Wow. Yeah, it's interesting because I can see how you get there.
Who do you like? Who's your champion?
In the AFC?
AFC North.
Oh, AFC North. I'm a Burrow guy. I'm on board, man.
No kidding.
They're flawed. I mean, there's no question they're flawed. Protection is still an issue. I mean, they can't even protect him well, and he's still doing all of this. And I think their defense is a little better. If Hendrickson's out I think it was just back spasm, so I think he's back. Yeah. I think they have a better pass rush than they get credit for. And to me, Burrow is nails. When the game gets tight, I mean, he's loose as a goose, man. So I just like his moxie. I think it lifts the level of play of the guys around him. And while I agree with you, I think they are, the big Labrador puppy that has not grown into it. I don't know if they're smart enough to realize they're not supposed to be there, if you know what I mean.
I do. Sometimes you see those young teams are like, what the hell are you guys doing here? I just think, look, they've lost 2 straight. We love them.
Yeah.
And it's exciting. I feel like the Bengals have this optics thing, which is great for them. It's like, they're like a Fast and the Furious movie. Like, it's really exciting and we got great highlights and sexy people, but like, is it that good really? I mean, I don't really know. It's like a Mountain Dew commercial or something. It's just so much energy. You got to win.
Either that or they're driving off the cliff.
Yeah, like with jumping out with a parachute or something. Like it's a lot of that. Like they're very exciting, but like we got to get some wins here in December.
Yeah.
More than exciting.
Well, listen, Kyle, I think we've allotted our time with you, so we thank you for it. And yeah, give the Buffalo Airport Twitter a follow. I know Maddie follows them; they're pretty entertaining. And as long as football season's going on, they'll probably have something of interest for you. So keep an eye out for them.
That's great. I didn't know airports could be funny. I'll be looking forward. Look at that. Buffalo Airport. Check your lost and found. All the penalty flags seem to have gone missing. Wink emoji. And I just can't wait until the local DMV starts weighing in with their one-liners. Then we know we've really arrived. Thank you, guys.
Well, yeah, we will have jumped the shark at that point in time. Kyle, always a pleasure. We'll catch up with you Christmas week. Get your shopping done, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
All right, my friends. Go Bills. See you later.